So last evening, when the announcement came from Donald Trump on levying at least 25% tariff on India, calling a massive trade deficit with India, additional penalty that has also been levied as India continues with its trade with Russia, and also being a member country of the BRICS platform, is something that has now given the opposition enough ammo to take on the government. It seems that the matter will be raised by the opposition in Parliament, and this is the fresh Sansad Sangram that is likely to happen as the Congress MP has now gone ahead to give an adjournment notice in the Lok Sabha over the US tariff statement by Donald Trump. Here is the Congress leader and MP Manikam Tagore, who has now given an adjournment motion notice in the Lok Sabha on US tariff. Let's get in a word from Sabya Sachi. Sabya, good morning. We were just talking about how it could be an opportunity for the opposition to take on the government on the tariff issue, and it seems exactly that is now going to happen in Parliament today.
Well, that's right. See, as we were discussing, the opposition is all set the tariff issue inside the Sansad, and already the Congress Member of Parliament, Mr. Manikam Tagore, has given an adjournment motion asking that there should be discussion as far as the tariff is concerned. Now, specific questions has been asked by Mr. Manikam Tagore, as he very categorically mentioned that the leader of opposition, Mr. Rahul Gandhi, time and again had mentioned about the broader collapse of our foreign policy. Now, Mr. Manikam Tagore also mentioned that there has been no clarification from the central government as far as the trade negotiation with the United States is concerned, and they have also sought clarity as far as the trade between India and Russia is concerned, because of which the penalty has been issued by the United States. Now, several of the opposition parties, in fact, have raised this question and have demanded an answer from the central government, stating that there should be a discussion inside the Parliament as far as a tariff is concerned. Now, the India bloc today, the floor leaders of all political parties are going to meet today at around 10 a.m. They are going to discuss various issues along with the special intensive revision of voter list, the Pahalgam terror attack, and also there will be discussion on the tariff that has been imposed by the United States and the penalties.
All right, but when we speak of the opposition, Sabya Sachi, they are of the point of view that this is nothing but arm twisting, and what India has really gained, or rather Prime Minister gained really, when it comes to his friendship with President Donald Trump, because as far as his statement is concerned, he still continues to call India and Prime Minister Modi as a friend.
Well, that's right. The opposition continues to call Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the United President Donald Trump as friend, because the opposition says that when Prime Minister Narendra Modi had campaigned for US President Donald Trump, and time and again when Donald Trump made several claims that he had brokered ceasefire between India and Pakistan and openly advocated for Pakistan, the Prime Minister of India, Mr. Narendra Modi, did not speak any word, because back of the mind they were hoping that the trade negotiations between India and the US does not get hampered, and the US does not impose any sort of...
Well, it seems that this issue is likely to be picked up by the opposition as an adjournment notice by a Congress MP that has now been issued in the Lok Sabha over the tariff announcement that has now been made by President of the United States on India, and of course when it comes to its trade with Russia. But when we speak of a time when there has been a raging face-off in India over Operation Sindoor, and Donald Trump's repeated assertion that he is the one who brokered ceasefire understanding between India and Pakistan, a claim that he has multiple times spoken about, the US President, however, now dropped the tariff bomb, announcing 25% tariff on India along with the penalty. Why? Because Trump says it is for buying military equipment and energy from Russia, and also being part of BRICS, which US considers to be anti-American. Now, when it comes to the 25% US tariff on India, that will now come into effect from tomorrow. Tomorrow is the deadline as far as when it comes to the 1st of August is concerned. While making the announcement, Donald Trump says that US has massive trade deficit with India. In the meantime, let's speak of the statement that has now been issued by India itself on the political response and the official response that has now come in from Donald Trump's tariff announcement. Let's put that out, with the Ministry of Commerce and Industry saying that the government of India took note of the statement that has been made by President Trump, and also saying that the government is studying its implications. Let's get in a word from the Congress leader and MP, Mr. Manikam Tagore, who is also connected with us. Mr. Tagore, good morning. We were just reading out exactly when it comes to the opposition stand today on the tariff Trump announcement. Will that matter now be taken up in the House?
Yeah, I had moved an adjournment motion on that issue yesterday. It was a shocking shell came on us, and we were shocked to see the net government has not responded properly. Therefore, we want a discussion because it is going to affect many of the MSMEs and other sectors, particularly the textile sector from Tamil Nadu and other parts of India. And therefore, the government must act quickly. It cannot just be in the defensive mood. And the government, particularly Prime Minister Modi, has become more defensive on the U.S. relationship and Trump's attacks on India and particularly on this government. Why the government is more subdued to U.S. pressure, we are unable to understand. India should play with its strength and we should not be subdued, or we should not...
But Mr. Tagore, what do you make of India's response to Donald Trump's statement? Because the government says that it still remains committed to the objective of fair, balanced and mutually beneficial bilateral trade agreements. As US President himself says that talks are on, negotiations are on.
But the reaction should have been there. India should have imposed more tariff on the Americans. That should have been the reaction, not this homeopathic medicine to the Americans. You have to deal with them in a way how they are dealing with you. Why Prime Minister Modi is afraid to call the bluff of Mr. Trump on the ceasefire issue? Also, he has been attacking the Indian government's action that India surrendered. Modi is keeping Maunarat on it. Leader of opposition Rahul Gandhi asked in the parliament.
All right. Well, we've seen the opposition raising those questions in Parliament, Mr. Tagore, but what do you have to say on your party colleague and MP Manish Tiwari, because he believes that it will not have any effect as far as India's economy is now concerned with regards to the tariff announcement. Manish Tiwari's statement.
Individual opinion doesn't matter, party line matters, okay?
All right, you're calling it as an individual statement. Thank you very much, Mr. Manikam Tagore. Well, it seems that the opposition would be raising the issue in the House as well, calling it as a failure of the Prime Minister and the government's foreign policy. But this is when it comes to the announcement that has been made by Donald Trump, where he has called BRICS as anti-US, and he says it is an attack on the dollar, but also the tariff bomb that he has now dropped. Additional penalty has also been levied on India.
Today that India, in addition to its 25% tariff rate, would pay an additional penalty because of its support of Russia. What is that additional penalty? And are other countries facing the same threat?
Well, we're negotiating right now, and it's also BRICS. You know, they have BRICS, which is basically a group of countries that are anti the United States, and India is a member of that, if you can believe it. It's an attack on the dollar. And we're not going to let anybody attack the dollar. So it's partially BRICS, and it's partially the trade. This trade situation, it's the deficit. We had a tremendous deficit. So, as you know, Prime Minister Modi is a friend of mine, but they don't do very much business in terms of business with us. They sell a lot to us, but we don't buy from them. You know why? Because the tariff is so high. They have one of the highest tariffs in the world. Now, they're willing to cut it very substantially, but we'll see what happens. We're talking to India now. We'll see what happens. It doesn't matter too much whether we have a deal or whether we charge them a certain tariff. But you'll know at the end of this week.
Well, Srinjoy, good morning. You know, as we were discussing the Parliament, in the Parliament today, the opposition would be raising the issue because they have been questioning as far as India's foreign policy is concerned. They have been calling U.S. pressure and in an attempt to arm twist when it comes to India's economic sovereignty.
Well, the opposition can say whatever it does. At the end of the day, the government has to negotiate with the Americans. And President Trump is making it clear that while it is 25% and additional penalties because of India's relations with Russia, its import of crude, its buying of Russian weapons, and the fact that India is part of BRICS, this is up for discussions. And the reason is because the president has said that we shall see. Now, we shall see what? Because an American negotiating team will be in India to discuss these issues. But India will have some serious points to make. Because when you have tariffs imposed because we buy Russian crude, India can say the following points. Number one, when India exports refined Russian crude to America, America sees it as Indian petroleum. Now that is America's position. Secondly, America has publicly said that because India buys Russian crude, the prices of crude in the world are lower than it can be. So these are statements that have come from the American side.
Yes.
And this can be noted during the negotiations. Now that's very critical.
Well, talks are on, negotiations are on. Of course, Donald Trump still continues to assert that India is a friend. However, has called out on the BRICS platform as well, where India is a member country. But there has been a blow hot, blow cold policy as far as the United States is concerned with the other members of the BRICS nation, where Donald Trump considers, when it comes to this platform, to be anti-dollar and anti-American policies. But there has been another development as Shinjoy continues to be with us. We now talk of the tariff bomb. Now it is the US which has sanctioned at least 6 Indian firms over Iranian oil purchases. Now, the United States has imposed sanctions on at least half a dozen Indian companies, accusing it of trading in Iranian petroleum and petrochemicals as part of the broader action targeting 20 entities worldwide. The U.S. Department of State announced the sanctions, alleging that the Indian firms knowingly engaged in significant transactions for the purchase and marketing of Iranian petroleum products, violating American sanctions on Iran. So what is being said here, Srinjoy? Because after, penalties and tariff bomb, now it is the US sanctions on Indian companies that also include some of the country's major petrochemical traders.
This is a slightly separate issue. And regardless of that, this has to come under discussion. This has to be discussed between the State Department and the External Affairs Ministry. And also the Commerce Ministries of both countries have to be involved to sort this problem out. Yes, this is a problem. Yes, this has been unilaterally decided upon by the State Department. But this is something India and America will have to talk about to sort out.
All right, because here, as far as the U.S. State Department stating that 13 entities which have engaged in transshipment, sale and purchase of Iranian origin petrochemicals are being targeted. Shinjoy continues to be with us because back home, as we are already looking at the developments that we brought you, that the opposition is ready when it comes to taking on the government in Parliament as far as the tariff bomb announcement that has been made by the U.S. President. They have been calling it as a catastrophic failure of Modi's foreign policy, where Congress leaders have been mocking the Prime Minister, saying that what happened when Prime Minister Modi also, as far as echoed Ab Ki Baar Trump Sarkar, the hugs and the handshakes, what did India gain from the friendship with the United States? They are putting out that question today.
ये तो प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी को और भारत को एक बहुत बड़ा धक्का है। तारीफ ही तारीफ में टैरिफ लग गया। हाउडी मोदी, नमस्ते ट्रंप, इसका कोई फायदा नहीं। तो हमारे लिए, हमारे देश के लिए, हमारे अर्थव्यवस्था के लिए, प्रधानमंत्री के लिए ये बहुत बहुत बड़ा धक्का है।
ये सवाल प्रधानमंत्री जी से कीजिए। हम अंधेरे में हैं, लेकिन उनके साथ इस देश के मिजाज के साथ कोई समझौता नहीं होना चाहिए। आज जो सरकार में है, कल नहीं होंगे, लेकिन ये महासागर की चरित्र वाला देश है, इसको कोई गदला करने की कोशिश करे, ये बड़ा।
It is very unfortunate, but certainly it needs a total study as to how it will impact India, and certainly the government of India will take cognizance of this issue.
The government of India should not buckle down under the pressure, and they should tell that we are a sovereign nation and we are independent. If you want any kind of a trade deal, you are welcome. If you don't want, we also don't want to have any kind of a business with you. So India should take a firm stand.
सीज़फायर के लिए वो लोग भारत को मजबूर किया सीज़फायर करने के लिए, ट्रेड टॉक्स की तसल्ली देके कि ट्रेड टॉक्स में आपकी मदद करेंगे। आज के दिन पता चल रहा है कि जो टैरिफ्स है वो 25% लागू किए, देश के हित में बिल्कुल ही नहीं है। टैरिफ का जो 25% स्लैब हमें लागू किया गया है।
दोस्त ना रहा, प्यार ना रहा। That sort of approach of attitude is of Mr. Donald Trump.
The tariff issue is a serious issue. I think trade talks will on between the Commerce Minister and the different countries across the world, even including America. I think we should protect our interests of our country and take a call accordingly.
However, there has been a difference of opinion. While the Congress terms Trump's tariff move as a failure of Modi government's foreign policy, its cynicism has now been addressed by their own leaders. Here is Congress MP Manish Tiwari, who was part of India's diplomatic outreach post-Operation Sindoor, has now called Donald Trump's decision as the biggest tribute to India's strategic exceptionalism and strategic autonomy. On a post where he has now written that Nehru's policy of non-alignment was now called as multi-alignment, and Indira Gandhi's policy of self-reliance was now called as Atmanirbhar Bharat. He says that these policies are the strategic continuum that provide India with flexibility to engage with the world on its own terms and is in the best national interest. Let's in the meantime